Hello. Oh, now it's here. Hello, thank you, welcome to KubeCapture, the third one, actually. And everybody who already was to a KubeCapture talk of mine, I promise I changed enough to still keep it interesting, for sure. So what do we want to do? We will go on a journey to attack a Kubernetes cluster, and I will guide you through the attack, and you will help me. We have a little bit of a time constraint, so we have to find a very efficient way to make it interactive. So I will start to break in, I will do most of the work, and here and there I will ask you a specific question, and then whoever thinks they know a good answer, hold up your hand, and then I point to somebody, and then you just shout out the answer. It will be a very short answer, so there is no room for like discussing what you thought I should do. It will basically be like, how can I connect to this? And then somebody says, me, and then I say you, and then you say, use curl, and then that's kind of like the idea. And I will repeat what you say. This way it will be efficient. And obviously everybody who has a suggestion and I pick and has an answer gets a Swiss knife, but I flew with the airplane, so I had to get chocolate knives. So, but at least it's a sweet thing. Okay, so that's kind of like what we want to do. So let's start on our mission. Oh, and it's a capture the flag. So we are looking for flags to get a hint that we are at the place that possible attackers would want to go. Flags are little pieces of text that are usually hidden in this kind of scenarios to motivate us to get to a certain point. So let's look at the mission we have. So the mission we have today is we got a company which is illegally dumping waste into the ocean. So what we will have to do is we'll have to get into their Kubernetes clusters and somehow stop them from dumping waste into the ocean. And Nele, she's our handler, as you would say it in this scenario. She's giving us some insight, and she told us that there is an IT person in the company who has posted a GitHub issue which we could work from. So that's what we will do. We'll go and look into that GitHub issue. So, as nobody would ever do, Ryan, our employee of the target company, has posted a support issue and copy-pasted some interesting information onto GitHub. Something I've never seen in any repository. So let's see what's his issue. So he wrote, suddenly I get the following error in my cluster, and then he copy-pasted stuff into there. So we see here, that's actually not too bad for this kind of issue. Could be worse, it could be just error, doesn't work anymore. But for now, it's even, there is some debugging information. So he has a crash loop back off, so for some reason this container crashes. It's Kubernetes, there is something called waste dumping crew, that's a pod, most probably, and he even gave us the logs, and there it seems that the image doesn't support an option he's using. So now we could go into the documentation of this project. So he's using JSON server, an amazing, cool, small project to build JSON APIs, a little JSON database solution. And I did some homework for that, so we already know how to solve it. So maybe we'll get him, but maybe we'll get him to tell us a bit more. So let's see. Okay, happy to help you. Can you provide your Docker file and Kubernetes manifests and secrets? I think I think he won't go for that. He will not go for that. Okay. Let's see what he does. So he's super motivated because he has an issue. The database is down, so he needs to fix that. So he's really relying on us. So bam, he already answered. Yeah, I could have used ChatGPT and the GitHub API, but I think I spent my time otherwise. So long story short, he answered, and we got some things to work from. So he's using an image. That's a common one, yeah, it's exactly. He's using latest, that's his issue. And there is some interesting things. He has some JavaScript code he copies in there. There is some folders, data. There is even some JSON he copies into there. And we see also the command, how he starts everything. We see deployment. And we see a GitLab project, waste, vanish, incorporate, Kubernetes. That sounds interesting. And there he has an image. That's the image he's using. We see some more information. At least there is some security involved here. So he's not mounting the service account token. And so let's go help him a bit. Let's go help him a bit. So what I want to do now is I want to fix his issue by basically changing the version here, which should be this one. And when I change this version, he will actually have no issue anymore. With a quick Google search, I'll find out that it's basically the latest version he's using. Remove the flag. He's still using that flag, so let's just give him this support. That's not very interesting. Now I will build that image. And I created a Docker Hub account because I assumed that he's using it using Docker Hub from the naming of the image. And I just built an image with this fixed file, but I didn't add anything malicious to it. So let's do that now. So this is not the most sophisticated way to put something into an image, but it's just to get you inspired of how we could do that. So obviously, I have my Docker file, and obviously, I do not want to put here like, I don't know, copy, reverse, shell. This will be interesting later on. I'm so nervous, I'm typing. Luckily, I have a lot of copy-paste. So let's go. I prepared a little reverse shell, and I know where the JSON server has its JavaScript. So what I do actually is I will start a container from this image. And with a sleep command, I could actually engineer a little bit more interesting command here, but I won't for now. And then I will basically copy my malicious file into the running container. I will check if it worked, and obviously there is my reverse shell. And now let's go for getting that into the actual image. Does anybody have an idea how I could get this change now into an image? Yes? Yeah, exactly. We'll use something called Docker commit in this case, and we'll use Docker commit. Did I just lose internet? That's the worst case. Let's go back. But luckily, yes, that's. I hope this doesn't happen every few minutes. Okay, I'm back. So long story short, yes, exactly, you'll get a chocolate for sure. So this is, I will use Docker commit in this case, and then I will basically have me build an image where we here snuck in some data. As I said, this is not the most sophisticated way. There are more sophisticated way, but it's kind of interesting to see. And now, obviously, we push that to Docker Hub. So hopefully, Ryan will use that. Now, I named the user Wanderer KC, like KubeCapture, and I could have named it differently. I could have created an organization on Docker Hub called JSON server or official open source org or whatever, and then could have put it there to make it a bit less obvious, but why not? I mean, he sees that I'm giving this support answer, so let's go back to him and let's give him some very nice support. So I'll even fix his Docker file. Obviously, I can't run this Docker file because I don't have all his scripts and data, but I can still like patch it here and give him this version. And now let's hope he's in a hurry, so he will maybe use that. Okay, so let's see. Now we have a nice script. So, which will wait for us for the reverse shell. So let's see how fast he is. His boss is maybe pushing him because the crew database is down, and there he is. He's already implemented our update. We're really lucky that he's so fast, otherwise the talk would be very boring. Otherwise we could have had to continue tomorrow. So, oh, I forgot about which number was it? Here, 10,023. What a nice number. So let's go for that. And you may think nobody can ever start a reverse shell in your cluster, but how is your DNS doing when I look up anything in the internet, like TXT records? You can VPN and tunnel data through TXT records. So now we're in a pod, we're in the container. We already get plenty of information, but we also see that he secured the pod a bit. Some reason, here. The internet is a bit sketchy, but it works. So we're not root, that prevents some things. Now, like, what's the most common thing we could do in this kind of scenario? Where do I find the service account? Anybody? Yes? Exactly. var run secrets Kubernetes IO. Let's look into that. And we can also look for the mount, but there is no secret. So we can, for now, forget about all the kubectl stuff. So we're in a pod, JSON server. He obviously uses it to run his crew database out of it. So that's some interesting information. And we don't have a service account. So we can first maybe just look around where we are. Does anybody know where I could find the database? Either from memory, from reading before, or from knowing how to find it out? Yes? Env, I could try env for sure. So env is always a good thing to try. I'm bad at scrolling in tmux, so I do this less. There is some information. I don't see any passwords or flags for now. I don't see any JSON. Has anybody an idea how I could show the command of the process that's running in the container? Okay. PS top is not installed. PS is not installed. What a secure image. What else could I try? Yes? Exactly. That's. I really like proc. So let's go for cat proc 1 CMD line. So now we got this again. That's not super advanced, but it's cool to remember. this proc file. Who needs any commands? The only thing you need is bash and proc. I can tell you, really, it's like everything else is just a waste of time remembering the options. So let's go for that. Maybe cat. Cat is also pretty okay. So let's go for that. Okay, now we got some data. Oh, we got our first flag. So let's first just look at this. So we have some names here. By the way, these names and roles are generated by an LLM. So please don't be angry at me if any of the names are, it's not my fault, it's ChatGPT's fault. So let's go. Captain Grumpy Doe there is a ship, Pollutionista, and he's the captain. Let's see who's else there. There's all people on the ship. Where's the second captain? Here, Tony Slaperoni. There is a second ship. So, but those are all the staff on the ships. Let's see if we find some more people. Oh, there is something interesting. So we got our first flag. So this is how a flag usually looks. It can also be like flag underline CTF. So we found a flag. So now we have two interesting members of this company. It's Andy Bernard. He's the fleet coordinator, and as we want to do something with the ships, this could be of help. And he's in the headquarters, and we should buy him a book of Moby Dick. That's interesting. And then obviously we will have Ryan Howard, our dear friend and support guy, who puts in those nice fixes we provide. So let's continue. Now we got this information, but we're a bit stuck. We can try now a vast sea of things. We could try to go after the nodes. We could try to break out the container. We are not root. There are so many things, which I just have a brain freeze, what all the things we can try, but I know what we want to try next. The next thing we want to try is we want to show the output of the main process. Does anybody know how we can show the logs or the output of the main process? Anybody? Yeah. Yes? Yes, I know this is. Yes, I know this is a bit boring with all of this proc. But let's just go for that one. That last proc one, I promise there is no more proc. But it's so important because everything in Linux, most of the things somehow go through proc or def or whatever. So we got some output, and now we got something very interesting here. We got a JSON server Prometheus exporter. So that's kind of an interesting thing. And that's also important if we ever do an attack. Every information is information we can use to better understand the cluster and therefore make assumptions. Because as we all know, everybody runs the same Kubernetes cluster with the same tools, which is not the case. So it's really interesting and important to know like how things are named, what is running on a cluster. So anybody has an idea what the next step could be if we see something called Prometheus exporter? What could we look for? Anybody? Yes, sorry. We could try to curl the exporter, that's true. We could try to curl the exporter so we could get the metrics. That would be one option, yes? Sorry, by the way, I have I have the light in my face, that's why I can't see. Anybody else? What could we also look for now? For Prometheus, yes, but it's not on this pod. So let's first assume there is a Prometheus exporter. We could go for the metrics, then we would get the metrics for the JSON server. We could try to get the config file. For that, we need to get somewhere to see the config file. We're still in this JSON server database. So let's just go for looking for the actual Prometheus. So there are several ways to look for Prometheus. We could guess it. We could just guess the DNS server. For example, we could get some more information out of that. Let's see if we can get some more information. Dig a... Anybody an idea how I can look up the IP address? Reverse lookup, yes? Host. So there is one trick, maybe you meant this one, get end hosts, and then we can basically look up this. So we can look up an IP address, and then we'll see that there is a namespace monitoring. So we could now go and just guess the name. So we could basically say, if there is a namespace monitoring, maybe, my notes, shifted in my notes, I could go and guess that there maybe is, sorry, I need to fold that all. I could guess that there is a Prometheus.monitoring. That would be the cheap one. That would be the cheap way. I could also like enumerate I could also enumerate the DNS. In the past, there was this solution where you could just basically look up any.any. They luckily fixed that one. Or I could just also go for scanning. Now, how could I approach scanning? I could scan the network. For that, I could get the service IP range, and then I could use whatever tool to scan that network. I wrote here a little shell script which does some very cheap network scanning using just bash. But we could also just go and use nmap. Now the issue is we don't have nmap. It's not the most elegant way to use nmap, but this is just for you to get an idea how we could do something now. So anybody has an idea how I could get some tool like nmap onto this pod? Yes, just curl it from the internet. And we don't have curl, but we have bash. And if we have bash, we have everything we need, as I already mentioned. So, sorry? RCP we could use, yes. So what we use now here is we will basically use this. We'll use a one-line bash script, which will basically use some pipe magic and some virtual file system magic to send the HTTP header and then pipe this into a file. And because this is a read-only file system, I know I missed this step now, but it's no problem. I just tell you, it's a read-only file system. I will put it into temp nmap. So now we got our nmap here. And now we can basically scan the network for Prometheus. So obviously we could put a flag onto the temp volume. So the image, so the pod is read-only. We cannot write anything in files, but in folders that we are allowed to. So there would be the data folder, but it would also be the temp folder. We could put flags onto those folders so nothing can be executed in there. But long story short, we could circumvent that. So now I have to speed up a bit. So we'll go after this Prometheus. So we could use the same bash command to basically go after Prometheus, but that would be very annoying. So we'll actually just download curl into the temp folder. And if we couldn't execute curl from temp, we still have Node.js in this case. If it would be a Python application, we would have had Python. So even if there is some flag on a volume to not allow us to execute something, we could circumvent that to a certain degree, as long as the image has these volumes and certain tools on it. So we now got curl, and now we go after Prometheus. And Prometheus is amazing. I mean, I really love it, and I mean it. If I use it myself, I like it. If there are nice network policies, MTLS, authentication, and if it's a cluster I want to get into, I like it. If there is no authentication. And it's actually, for quite a while, it was much harder to get Prometheus running with authentication than without. There is a lot of Prometheus out there which doesn't have any authentication. So long story short, because it's only metrics, who cares about metrics? But there is metadata in the metrics. So I created this, this convoluted command here. Maybe I copy-paste it first so you see the actual command. This is just, it's like Prometheus get pods basically. So it just gets the Prometheus endpoint and then formats it to a way so we see the namespaces, the nodes, and we also see the pod names. So now we have a really interesting view on this cluster, because now we see everything that is a pod and writes metrics to Prometheus, or basically its metrics get written to Prometheus. So first of all, we got Argo CD. That's a very nice thing. Can help us to make a cluster more secure, but can also help us to do things with it. Then we have something here which is called Captain's Chat. I forget often to talk about that enough. We want to get the ships back to harbor, so this could be something we could go after. Then we got something which is called DevOps. So this is namespace, DevOps namespace. There is something runner operator, and there we got a flag. So this would be another flag. It's not the nicest way to write it here, but I thought putting it here to just show, like, if you get to this point, that's worth something. And then we got some job here. Anybody an idea what this could be? Typical naming for a GitLab job. So CI/CD jobs. They're very interesting. Especially if they run on production clusters. Then we got some ingress, we got our Kubernetes system, and then we got another very interesting tool down here. So we got all the monitoring stuff, but then we got logging. So here we got something which is called Loki, and Loki allows us to work with logs. And here we can do the same thing again as we did with Prometheus. So basically, I take this IP address here, and I will use Loki as a step to basically get logs. Now I have to set the variable, otherwise. Bam. So that's great to work with. So we need some tool to help us to work with that, and for that I really like JQ. So it's a just JSON query tool, and that will do similar thing we did with Prometheus. We will basically format it and get the data we want to look at. One suggestion from you, what namespace should I look into first? So what pods should I look at first? Yes? KubeSystem. I could look at KubeSystem. That's true. But so I could look at KubeSystem and could see if I find anything here in the logs about booting up. That's for sure a thing we could do. But what I prepared is I prepared for looking into the DevOps namespace. So let's look into the DevOps namespace. Why is this interesting? So CI/CD is amazing. We build software, we test software, we run end-to-end tests. We need all kind of authentication to authenticate against our applications. We deliver things for that. We apply stuff. We maybe even, depending on our approach, even do something with Argo CD CLI if we don't use plain GitOps and so on. There's so many ways we can use CI/CD. So let's look into this log file. And now let's see down here. So the upper one is running tests, building, cloning, okay. That doesn't look that interesting, but here we got another one. Oh, that's interesting. Do you remember from the GitHub post, we got this Git repository? And here he does something with it. What does he do? It's in reverse order, by the way. So he pushes it, so that's interesting, because for pushing you need access. And here he patches a version. That's a nice GitOps approach. So he basically, at the end of some pipeline, he patches the version of an image. That's a way you can do it. And then probably, I guess, Argo CD takes it from there. And now we get something very nice. Let's see where it is. Ah, here we go. Here we go. And when I prepared that, by the way, so I have multiple personality disorders. Sometimes I'm Ryan, sometimes I'm me. I was pretty shocked because I prepared that, and then I went into the GitLab UI, and I saw, oh no, the secret is masked in the GitLab UI. And I really like GitLab, nothing against GitLab, but this secret is masked in the GitLab UI. And I was like, oh no, my whole plan doesn't work out anymore. And then I looked into the container logs, and I'm like, okay, no, it's still there. So yes, you will not be able to use GitLab database and GitLab UI to basically get this, but it's still written to the log, depending on how you do it. So let's use that, and looking at the timer, I will just go on from here. So what I will do now is I will basically take our supply chain attack a bit further. So we did this supply chain attack with the image, and now we actually go after the GitOps. So we'll basically use GitOps to sneak in sneak something in. Now I'm in the wrong terminal, so I have to leave our waste crew database, bye-bye, and then I will go here to my jump server back, a VM I captured from some other company, and then I will clone the repository, and then I have my favorite debugging pod. We can look at this pod quickly. Debugging pod, where is it? So just to give you an inspiration. So that's a nice pod. So this pod has some really nice flags. It's nothing interesting. There is some privilege. There is some things that will help us to escape the pod. So now let's push that. Let's go. Let's push that and hope for Argo CD to pick it up. So let's go. Bam. This is always the point with Argo CD. Yes, here it is. Okay, so now let's use our ref shell script, because obviously in that pod I have another ref shell. So let's go into that reverse shell. And now everybody repeat after me: never use images with root, and never use containers privileged if we don't really have to. So, and then we have this amazing command, ns enter target 1, and then we're on the node. I wanted to make more drama, but I just see the timer, so I have to. Yeah, so we got a flag. So we're on the node now, but we still want to get the ships back to harbor. So now there is an amazing tool which is called KCD. So we basically see everything we have on this node. And the most interesting tool we want to go after is the runner operator, or anything that looks like operator, because they usually have permissions, because they have to talk to Kube API. So let's go after this runner operator. And then basically we're now in the runner operator. Was maybe a bit too fast, so I did a KCD exec on the node into the runner operator container, which runs on the node. I escaped the pod that I snuck in through Argo CD, and now I will see what I have. And now we got some nice RBAC rules that help this operator to manage way too much of the cluster. Now I will go after ingress, because ingress is a nice thing. We could also use some other tools if there is no ingress. There is a really nice tool called FRPC, FRPS, which is basically just a very handy reverse tunneling. It's a bit similar to ngrok, a bit more work to set up. Ngrok is much easier to set up. It just works. But ngrok doesn't really like it if you use it for attacking servers, so you can set up your own. But we will rely on boring old ingress. And now we got the captions chat. And now we have here Andy Bernard. And I have several ways to get the password, but we only have 2 seconds left. So does anybody remember? Does anybody have an idea what could be the password of Andy from the crew? Sorry? Moby Dick, could it be? That's actually possible. So it's actually Captain Ahab. I know. Could have been more interesting. So now we're in the captain's chat. And here they're discussing if anybody, okay, if they forgot their toothpaste. So I don't want to be on that ship. And then we see here, like, Andy wanted to party. So we're actually logged in as Andy. And we want to get the ships back to shore so they don't dump their waste. And maybe we call the police so they can arrest them or whatever. So let's see if we can get them back to shore. I can actually write whatever I want. So I'm back. How are you? See. Can you come back to shore? Come back to help me lift a box. Let's see if. Yes, I'm drunk. So. But the boss said, you have to come back because there are some boats with lights going after you, and I'm not allowed to write anything what they are named here. So come back. We got it. Whew. So they will come back. So that's actually ChatGPT now. Okay, so thank you very much. That's it. Follow me on LinkedIn and go to Capture the Flags. It's the best way to learn about it. The best Capture the Flags are for beginners to get into it is for sure from Control Plane at the KubeCon. They do amazing Capture the Flags. So maybe see you there and see you around.